Welcome to the new podcast, A Mick, a Mook, and a Mike, hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer Frank Pace, with retired New York City firefighter and Vietnam vet Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest, director legend Howard Storm.
Oh, Mr. Chuckles, how are you today?
Oh, Mr. Chuckles, I'm having a ball, Frank. Life is good. What's not the life?
Retired Lieutenant Billy O'Connor.
Nice to be retired. It's nice to be the king. It's nice to be retired.
It's nice to be the king, indeed.
Just for our audience's sake, they got me swallowing the mic. They keep telling me I'm putting the mic in the wrong direction. Maybe I'm homophobic. I'm afraid of the mic. Don't say that.
Don't say that.
Don't go there.
Don't say that. Say hello to Derek Harris, our
Hello.
third man in the booth.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Derek, how are you, my brother?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. So who's our guest today, Frank?
Our guest, Derek. I got to wait for Derek to switch cameras.
No, you don't.
I don't.
No.
Our guest is Howard Storm. He wrote The Imperfect Storm with Steve Solier, and they're both going to be our guests today. They're going to be a great guest for sure.
Well, what a background this man has, huh?
He does have a background.
Absolutely
He
incredible.
does.
I mean, obviously, when you're 87, 88 years old?
Whatever. What's a few years among?
No, but the guy has lived some life. I mean, my God, he crammed a lot of, he crammed a lot of life into those 88 years. I mean, he's 88 years young, Frank. Let's face it. I mean, but what a life. I mean, I read the book. Great book. Great read. I recommend it highly to anybody from the roots or where he came.
It's the Imperfect Storm with introduction by Dick Cavett. He's Howard's connected, but we'll more about Howard a little bit later on in the show.
We're lucky to have him.
You're going to Vegas this weekend, huh? Or next weekend, or in the near future?
Frank, I got about there. I like about Vegas. I love to jog on. You know, like you go to the crap table. Craps, he didn't come to do it. He won't do it again. Danger's over. Double up and catch up. I love all that shit. I ever tell you, I'm playing blackjack in Vegas, and the dealer gives me a 10 and a 4, right? And I look at the 10 and a 4, and the blackjack dealer says, "That's a mother-in-law hand." This is a mother-in-law hand. What the hell does that mean? He goes, you know, you want to hit it, but you know you're really not supposed to.
Pretty funny.
That's great.
Yeah, pretty funny. You know, I see those Morongo Indian casino things with the guy and his wife driving up to Vegas. They're having a big old time in a convertible. They go to get the convertible. They get to Vegas and get to Morongo Casino. And inside they go, "For the time of your life," and everybody's wearing masks. they're eating and drinking, and they have masks on. I said, how can they have a good time with those masks on? It makes no sense at all.
I caught the time of your life, but I do love the jog on. I love the whole deal. One blackjack dealer gave me 2 queens, you know, which is a great hand, perfect 20. You know when you're not going to hit it, you stand good. But he gives me 2 queens.
Especially if you're gay.
Yeah, that's what he said to me. He gave me the 2 queens. He goes, "Siegfried and Roy." I said, "No, I love the whole deal." I got to tell you a quick story. A buddy of mine, Red, my old bookmaking partner. And, of course, Red was crazy. I mean, we were all crazy because we were making money like we were printing money. We were making so much money. We were bookmaking. And we were all into the blow and quaaludes and drinking and the hookers, the whole 9 yards. We were a mess. But Red was like, "I'm excessive." He made me look like an old over the top, you know. I'd bet 1,000 a game, 2,000. He was betting 20,000 a game. It was nuts. And so he calls me up one day and he says, That's it. He goes, "I'm telling you right now." He says, "No more booze, no more hookers, no more blow." He says, I found religion. He goes, I went to church the other day. He goes, "It's inspiring." He says, I'm not doing it anymore. I said, "Well, good for you, brother. You know, whatever works for you." About a week later, I get a call from Red. I'm in Vegas. I got a bottle of vodka up in my room. He said, "I just bought an 8-ball of blow, and 2 hookers are coming to the room." I said, whoa. I said, "What the fuck?" He's drunk out of his mind. I said, "What happened to religion? I thought you found religion." He goes, "Screw that shit. That was the longest week of my life." He says, I'm Catholic. I made the 9 first Fridays. I'm going to shoot for the deathbed confession." So now, about an hour later, he calls back. It's Red again. And he starts the conversation with, That's it. Just call me Kokomo Joe from Buffalo."
Kokomo Joe from Buffalo.
This called me. I said, what the are you talking about? I said, I got to hear this story. I said, all right, lay it on me. What's this about? He goes, I'm in my room. And he's like, call a hooker. The hooker comes to the room. She's nice. She's a nice looking chick. She's $250. I give her the $250. She says, anything else I can do for you? I said, well, can you get any cocaine? Can you get any blow? She goes, yeah, my driver's got coke. How much you want? He goes, get me $150 worth. He goes, and then she walks out the door, and I said, wait a minute. What did I just do? She called me Kokomo Joe for Buffalo. That's a man of your experience. I love Vegas.
It's unbelievable.
What do they say? What goes to Vegas stays in Vegas?
What stays in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Something like that.
What happens in Vegas stays in
What
Vegas.
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I guess I shouldn't have told my story, Red. Sorry, pal. Kokomo Joe.
You're into Vegas?
When I go to Vegas, and I haven't been to Vegas in like 10 years, I can stay for one day. And then it's all encompassing. And usually I go to Vegas there's a reason.
Right.
I'll go for an event, or I'll go to see a show, or somebody I know is in the show. I got to have a reason to go to Vegas.
Have you ever been there for a big fight night or anything?
I was there for a couple of fight nights.
Yeah, tell me the big fights you went to, because I always wanted to go for one of the big fights.
Wow.
Wow, were you?
Yep. I was there for Holmes and Witherspoon. Larry Holmes and James Witherspoon. I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember Witherspoon, yeah.
But when I was working with Pony, we had Larry Holmes under contract.
So you had great seats.
So we had great seats, and then we had access to Larry Holmes.
You know, that's remarkable that you were there and you were in those kind of seats. I love boxing, and everybody was in the 50s. You know, boxing was a huge sport, maybe second only to baseball. You know, boxing was huge.
And horse racing.
And horse racing.
2 of the 3 of them are dead, and baseball's dying.
But I don't care who was fighting. If you're in the roof, if you're up in the cheap seats, which I always, for a big fight, no matter who's fighting, it's not the same as being down on ringside. That's the one sport that you really got to be close, you know, because I'd go to the Golden Gloves and I'd be sitting in the third row. And when you're sitting in the third row, matter of fact, my first wife, Teresa, I said, come on, we're going to the gloves. She goes, oh, yeah, take me to the gloves. I want to go to the gloves. I said, you want to go to the gloves? I said, come on, take me to the gloves. We're in the third row. And the first fight, this guy gets up and the other guy breaks his nose in the first round, right? And you can hit him. I mean, it's like somebody stepping on an egg. And, of course, the blood spurts. And she's like, and now for every fight after that, she had her head turned and she was like, her eyes closed. But to be in that third row or second row for a fight, you get everything. You see the sweat flying when a guy gets hit. You can hear the sound of the impact. And when you're on the roof, you don't get that.
Yeah. Jay Thomas, my dear friend, he used to talk about being in the roof went to see a Stones concert. And he was in real cheap seats. And he said it was like looking at this. Because he could, and that was the day before. That was the time before they had closed circuit. So he was
yeah, that's true. When you're on the roof, but I mean, at least at a concert, you're there. And you know, hockey. A lot of people watching hockey, they like to be up high because they can see the plays develop and everything.
Yeah, they can't see the puck.
Yeah, exactly.
But they may be able to see the plays. But I tell you, Howard Storm. He's got fight stories. He's got some fight stories himself because he was a fight manager as well as a television director, as well as a stand-up. So
I can't wait to meet this guy because just the people that he was around. I mean, legends. I mean, we're talking, Jim Carrey and Robin Williams and Andy Kaufman. Yeah, well, I mean, some real wild people. This guy was directed, you know.
Yeah. When I was at the Ali Frazier fight, do I have to post it? Yeah, right there.
Were you at it live?
No, I wasn't at Holmes Ali. That's the Holmes Ali. I'm pointing to something that you can't see, but Billy can see it.
Yeah.
That's signed by Ali. It's October 2nd.
That was at Caesar's Palace.
Caesar's Palace, October 2nd, 1980. I was one of the suckers that was convinced Ali could win that game. So
yeah, you just couldn't bet against Ali.
I couldn't bet against Ali. And I actually bet that he would win. I probably lost $10 or so.
You lost $10?
I mean, I
It still hurts.
I wore
Oh,
a black,
yeah.
I wore a black armband for a week.
And the $10 said "Happy Holy Communion" from Uncle Joe. It was still autographed.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, let me ask you something. Do you find as we get older,
What was Witherspoon's name? Can you look it up? Witherspoon?
Jimmy
I think,
Witherspoon?
I
No,
think it's James
Jimmy,
Witherspoon.
Jimmy
but-
Witherspoon. I think it was an organ player. Jimmy Witherspoon. I think
I
it was a
don't know.
jazz player. Wasn't Jimmy Witherspoon?
Well,
What was it?
Derek will look it up. But I when we went to Vegas for that fight, I was running the golf course with Larry Holmes. So his pre-fight workout was running. So Tim Witherspoon.
Timmy Witherspoon.
Yeah.
Jimmy Witherspoon was an organ jazz player.
And so I went to run with Larry, and I was, I was 31 years old. I was still in pretty good shape then.
Did you run next to him? I mean, just
So I
happened to be-
didn't run next to him because he was so freaking fast.
really.
He left me. We probably ran, we were running sprints. We were running 100-yard sprints, and he was beating me by
Oh yeah.
15 yards.
Yeah.
But so you weren't out jogging or nothing. You were running sprints, going back and running sprints.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, man.
It was.
Was he a big guy?
Huge.
So I heard that he
Huge
actually
guy.
he felt kind of bad about beating Ali, right? Because Ali was his hero. He didn't want to hurt him, or
Yeah.
something along them lines.
And it became patently obvious 2 rounds into it that Ali was out of his element. But Ali was so charismatic that he still had us convinced that he would win the fight.
Yeah, but it's a young man's game. Boxing is of all the sports. That's one of the things that were most remarkable things to me about Ali. That after that layoff, that he was able to be the fighter he was.
Yeah, and he lost three probably prime years of his life.
And yeah,
Of
and
his
there was
boxing
nobody that could have beat him that last fight before that layoff.
Yeah, I would guess, and I would think that in their primes, Larry Holmes, if anybody had a chance to beat him in their prime, it would be Larry Holmes.
You see, the thing about Holmes is, to me anyway,
Jab, 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 jab.
great
jab.
fighter. But to be a great fighter in history, you have to have a great opponent. And it has to be that guy. Like with Ali, it was Frazier.
Yeah.
You have to have those guys. Like Jake LaMotta without Sugar Ray Robinson is just Jake LaMotta.
Yeah.
So what?
I got a great Jake LaMotta story. I shouldn't tell you this because I can't remember the payoff, but I'm going to try it anyway. So Jay Thomas and I were going to Jacksonville, and Jay was going to host the Jaxies or Jaxpies or something, the Jacksonville Emmy Awards, and they were going to televise them live. So Jake LaMotta was going to be one of the presenters, and I'm fighting my way through this. So bear with me.
All right, yeah, I got it, brother.
So we go to the rehearsals, and he comes up to Jay and he says, "You're doing the rehearsals?" He said, "Yeah."
Now, who comes up to Jay LaMotta?
Jake LaMotta
Comes up to Jay.
to Jay, and he says, "I want you to remember, I always get introduced as former welterweight champion of the world, Jake LaMotta. Not even Jake LaMotta, former heavyweight, former welterweight. It's got to be this, and this." So he says, "Okay, fine." So he came up. He says it a second time. He says it a third time. So Jay's fine. Jay does it. He says, "Thanks for doing it." So the next morning, we're in the hotel lobby, getting ready to eat breakfast. Who's cutting his waffles? But Jake LaMotta. Jake LaMotta's wife is cutting his waffles. So it was Jake LaMotta, former welterweight champion of the world, whose wife is cutting up his waffles. It was unbelievable. I met some of the most unique characters
Oh yeah,
in the world.
LaMotta was, Bronx legend. I mean, he was.
Yeah, and he was as punchy as the day is long. But a number of those people I met through Howard Storm. So why don't we get him on the line?
Yeah, man, I'm dying to talk to Howard Storm.
Well, let's get him on the line, Mr. Derek.
All right. All right, guys. We
You
got.
didn't have to wear shorts for me.
Where's Howard? Where's Howard? Where's Howard? Derek.
Oh.
Hey, there he is. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Frank. You didn't have to wear shorts for me.
Oh, now you exposed me. You exposed me, Howard.
Just as long as you don't expose yourself.
That's my partner, retired Lieutenant, New York City Fire Department, Billy O'Connor. And there's Derek Harris, the third man in the booth. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, and you?
Good.
Howard, it's an absolute honor to meet you, pal. An honor to meet you. I read your book. It was terrific. Absolute terrific read.
Oh, thank you. Glad you enjoyed it.
So, Howard,
So you're the one who read it.
I read it too, Howard. There's two of us here. We got it right here.
There you go.
Yep.
The Imperfect Storm.
So before we start, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Harvey Stone story? Because I thought you'd come on and you say you're a fake, you're a fraud, you're not him, you never was him.
You love that story.
Yep. So why don't you tell it? And lean back in your chair.
There was an agent in the Catskill Mountains, a hotel owner actually, and the agent was selling him me. So he said, "I offer you Howie Stone," and the hotel owner said, "Harvey Stone? Yeah, that's good." Now Harvey Stone at that time was getting $750 a night. I was getting $35 a night. So this guy thought he was getting Harvey Stone for $35.
Now, did you start?
No.
And so he said to him, "That's the guy that worked the Copacabana?" And the agent said, "Yeah, Copacabana, Latin Quarters, he worked them all." He said he was in the Army. He said Army, Marines, Navy. He was in all that. So the guy thought he was getting Harvey Stone for $35. So now it's showtime, and I show up. And the son says to him, "That's not Harvey Stone." And he says, "You're not him. You never was him. You'll never be him. You're fake, a phony, and a fraud. You're not Harvey Stone, you son of a bitch. Get out of my hotel, you bastard." So I had to explain to this guy that Harvey Stone was, got $750 a show. Anyway, it was a disaster.
Why don't you tell the story about how Harvey Stone died?
Oh, yeah. Harvey Stone died aboard a ship. He was on a cruise. And they called...
He was performing stand-up on a cruise, right? He was performing, yeah.
And they called his next of kin, who was his ex-wife in Detroit. And they asked her where they wanted her to ship the body. And she said he always wanted to be buried at sea.
So they dumped him over the edge, and she fulfilled her obligation.
And they threw him in the ocean.
Quick thinking. What would you say is the highlight? You've had such a varied career through the Catskills and a writer and a director. What would you say the highlight of your career was?
Well, I would think it was directing Robin.
So why don't we take a look at a promo that you and I did with Robin several years ago? I think it was maybe 40 years ago. Now,
yes.
I think we have about a minute and 10 seconds of that. Derek's trying to pull it up.
It's 30 minutes now.
Yeah, I know, but I just took about a minute 10 seconds or so. So he's got it up, and
there it is.
Yep, and
ball, a male hygiene spray. You know, sometimes below the waterline you could reek. That's why I need new foul ball. Something the part Verathane.
I had it upside down. I'm sorry. This is fabulous. I couldn't believe. Probably this can's too cold.
Would you do the line now? Just the introduction, one line, okay?
Hello, I'm Charlton Heston. You know, I have very few Jewish friends, if any. But I'd like to say, won't you please help support the United Goyim College Fund? Help learn a child to eat hot dogs this year, mayonnaise and corned
Can we
beef.
get another actor in, please?
Oh, give me a chance, please. I need this.
All I have to do is say.
say, I didn't listen. I just got wet, and even though
You're not going to do it. I'm going to cut camera. You got to do the line now. All right? Can we hear it, please?
Okay. Я очень любит в Америке. Сейчас в Москве. Ожидая преглядно. Самое уникальное спеялание. You know, what I would have loved to have seen, actually, is if they could have combined and dropped off funeral and the Olympics and had him in the bobsled run. All right, I'm ready, Howard.
All right. Can we get it now?
Yes, sir.
You
I
know what
think
the
we
line
can.
is? Do you want me to hold the cue card?
No. Yeah, I can.
It's the
Okay.
one that says
yeah,
now
I-
doing commercial. Okay.
Yes, I got
Here we
it.
go.
Mhm.
And
Storm. That's a German name, isn't it? Storm. Oh, it sounds like a dog. I love that old Storm. Come here, boy. Hey, off the leg. We're ready now. Here we go.
okay.
All right, and I'm ready to say that line hard because I love you. I love you for the man that you are. An incredible man, more than just one night. A man who can, I don't know, make you realize, ouch, who are you? I'm ready now.
Okay.
You're ready?
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Howard. Yes, Howard Storm is now directing commercials. Again, I can get it this time.
Yeah. Once more.
Hi, I'm Jack Nicholson, and Howard Storm is directing goddamn commercials. It's incredible that he can find a camera small enough to work with, but God bless him for trying. His first commercial was Billy Barty on a footstool. God, I love the fact that the man takes chances.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And cut.
There it was.
Amazing.
How do you haven't seen that for a while, have you, Howard?
No.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
He was pretty funny. What's your
He
favorite?
was.
What's your favorite memory of Robin?
What's that?
Your favorite memory of Robin?
My yes. I said it was a Friday night, and the audience was there, and I said, Robin, get your hand away from your wiener. And he said, Howard, you're an adult. You can say penis.
That's pretty funny. Pretty funny. Why don't you tell the Fountain Blue story?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't a Fountain Blue.
Oh,
It was, the agent was an agent called Nico Cavera. He was a Greek.
can you back up, please, a little bit? Yeah, that's great.
And he would call you and ask for you, and you would say that Howard Storm is not available, and he would leave a message. And in the message, he would tell you your next job and what you were doing. He would say, operator, tell Mr. Storm to call Nico Cavera in Jacksonville, Florida, which meant you work in Jacksonville, at the Roosevelt Lounge, which meant you at the Roosevelt Hotel, in room 175. That was your salary. I said, operator, ask him if I can call him in room 200.
That's terrific.
He said, tell him he's lucky he's in room 175.
That's terrific.
That's a great story. That's a great story.
Nico Cavera.
So you also when you were directing Robin in Mork and Mindy, you were also directing my friend and our friend Jay Thomas, which is how we met.
Jay, yes. Yeah, Jay was wonderful. He was amazingly talented and just a sweet, lovable guy.
Billy had a question he wanted to ask you.
Well, just such an extensive career. Looking back at reading your book, of course, from Henry Street to Hollywood. You've seen it all, brother. And working with the people you worked with, I mean, some of the comics that you've worked with, and Robin especially, but Jim Carrey and Andy Kaufman, some really odd beat comics.
Major guys, and they were all, well deserving of their place in the business. Jim Carrey was a brilliant talent. Andy Kaufman the same, and of course Robin, and Johnny Winters.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, Jonathan Winters came on. He actually replaced Jay in Mork and Mindy because Jay, after 2 years, Jay's character wasn't quite panning out, and they were desperate to recapture their year one magic of the ratings. So they brought in Jonathan Winters to play Robin's son.
Robin's son.
Yeah. What was that like with Johnny and Robin together on the
Incredible.
stage?
Well, I didn't do that show. That was
That season?
I was doing Taxi at that time.
Oh, okay.
That was the 4th year.
Right. So
Was it difficult to direct those kind of guys that had such improv skills? I mean, you were an improv guy yourself, weren't you, Howard?
Yeah. No, it wasn't difficult. What I did with Robin was I told him that I was going to let him go for a couple of days. And then at one point I could have to peel back, and get rid of some stuff that he'd done. And he agreed to that. And so I let him go for 2 days, and then I'd step in and say, you can do the glass, but you can't throw it. Put it on the counter.
right.
Take the chair, but don't move it away. Just leave it where it is, and those kind of things. And I gave him leeway. I gave him 2 days of doing whatever he wanted, and then I'd step in and peel back, and he had agreed to that, so it was fine.
Great. Your boyhood friend growing up was my great friend Marty Nedboy, and he became a beloved member of all of our casts. We've got Betty Garrett telling a story met. So Derek's going to put it up, and he'll play it back for you.
This is a long story, I have to tell you. But when I was in New York doing Laughing Room Only, one matinee day, a policeman came up to my dressing room with 2 kids holding onto their ears, literally. And he said, Miss Garrett, these 2 young, they know you. I caught them sneaking into the theater. And I looked at them, and one was blue-eyed, sandy-haired, skinny kid, and the other was a little Italian boy with big brown eyes and curly hair. And so I said, yeah, I know. And so he left. I'm sure the policeman didn't believe me, but he left, and I said to the kids, now, if you want to come and see the show, you let me know. And you come on a Saturday, and just before the overture, I'll go down and I'll open the side doors and you can sneak in. So every Saturday they used to come. They would bring me flowers from the day-old flower shop. By the time they came down on the subway, they were drooping with this. And I used to take them home between matinee and evening, and my mother would give them juice and cookies. And their names were Howie Sobel and Marty Nedboy. His father had been a burlesque comic, and Howie's big ambition was to be a nightclub comic. And he would say, how do I get in show business, Betty? And anyway, that went on for the run of Winter Garden that year, Laughing Room Only. Fade in, fade out. Years later, I'm shopping in Gelson's, and this kind of portly man comes with a balding head and says, Betty, do you remember me? I'm Marty Nedboy. And I went, oh my God, and I fell on him. We hugged, and I said, whatever happened to Howie? Did he become a nightclub comic? And he said, yeah. He became a nightclub comic, and then he became a writer, and then a director, and he's directed some big TV shows. So guess who my first director on Laverne and Shirley was? Howie Sobel, who is now known as Howie Storm. So anyway, I think that's such a great story.
Great story, Howard. Isn't it?
It was amazing.
What was it like to direct her?
She was great. She was just so easy, you know. I mean, she would come out every night in her wardrobe and open the side door for us so that we could sneak in and see the show.
What were you, 12 then?
What's that?
How old were you? 12 years old at that time?
We were 14.
14.
He was 24. Yeah, there was a 10-year difference.
Wow.
Now, how old were you, Howard, when you first started stand-up comedy? How old were you when you tried to break in? Were you 16 or so? Or
When I first started
Stand up.
stand-up?
stand-up, I was actually doing amateur shows in high school. I would go and get into the different clubs all over the 5 boroughs at night and get home at 2 a.m. and then go to school the next day.
Wow.
So it wasn't easy, and you competed against guys who came with 5 or 6 friends, and they would boo and hiss while the comic was on, and then cheer their friend who sang Danny Boy. You know?
That's baptism by fire, huh?
Yeah, those mix. they're a hardy bunch for sure. For sure.
Yes.
When did you start working with your dad?
Well, I must have been 4 years old when I first started working him in the Catskills. And I remember going to see another comic at a hotel down the road, and he was all upset because his partner had an attack and couldn't work. And I said to him, well, if you're stuck, I'll do it. And he said, well, do you know any of the scenes? I said, yeah, I know all of them. And he looked at me. I was 12 years old. He said, I got 20, you got 22? I said, yeah. He said, Joe the bartender? I said, yeah. So he said, okay. And I said, get me a long coat and a derby, because that's what my father did, how he worked. And I got a derby and a long coat, and we did a couple of the sketches.
And then you ultimately appeared on Merv Griffin with your dad, didn't you?
Yes, yeah.
That must have been satisfying for you.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. And it was amazing because he'd never been on television. And he was totally comfortable.
Wow.
Yeah, but working at Borscht Belt up there in the Catskills, at that age, you must have seen some real classic old comics. I noticed that you worked with Woody Allen as well. I mean, Woody was still doing stand-up when you met him?
Woody, at that point, I don't think he was yet. But the Catskills was a great place to see comics. They would do each comic would have a night for himself where everybody paid $1 to get in, and all the comics from the different hotels would come and perform. So you'd see a guy like a 15-year-old Jerry Lewis,
wow,
Jan Murray, Jackie Miles. It was just amazing. You get to see all these comics. And I was in heaven.
I would guess so.
Now, was the Concord up there yet, or was that one of the hotels?
Concord was there, but that was big time. The Concord, that was a little above where we were, in terms of prestige.
So, Howard, how did you get your first job, and how did you get your first job directing?
My first directing job. Let me see now.
Well, I mean television sitcom directing.
Yeah, it was Rhoda. I was sitting in with 5 other guys, hoping to get a shot. We sat in the bleachers, and we were not allowed to talk to the director, who was a guy named Bob Moore, who directed Boys in the Band off-Broadway. And he and I did a commercial together for Colgate Lime. And so we sat in the bleachers, and then at some point, I know what it was, I directed a play and I invited Alan Burns and Jim Brooks and Valerie Harper to come and see the play. And Alan Burns came to see the play and then asked to read the play, and he saw what I had done with it. And based on that, he gave me my first rota.
Wow. And you stayed with Rhoda for a
What's
while.
that?
And you stayed with Rhoda for a while, and then came
Yeah.
that led you to other things. That's terrific.
Yeah, I did 6 of them to begin with, I think.
Right. And when in that time period did you do Broadway Danny Rose? Were you a performer in Broadway Danny Rose, which you stole a show, I believe? I believe Howard was the best thing in Broadway Danny Rose, and that was a great movie.
Oh, thank you. Broadway Danny Rose was great fun. We did it at the Carnegie Delicatessen, and the waiter in the movie was the waiter at the Carnegie. So when we broke for lunch, we just moved over a table, and the same waiter.
But you have the pastrami and the corned beef there, Howard.
Corned beef.
That's my man. That's remarkable. You had a quote that about Robin that I thought was absolutely remarkable. And you said, the kid is a genius. He's like working with Charlie Chaplin. It's scary. That's a hell of a quote to say about anybody, especially the amount of talent.
Well, it was. I mean, it was. I never saw this kind of brilliance. You know, this kid he was just unbelievable.
There's a terrific photo. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I got to bring it up. There's a terrific photo on the cover of your book of you and Robin together. And you said that,
oh, yes,
looking back on that picture, there's a sadness in his eyes that you never noticed before. And I found that very poignant.
He was a lovely man. He was just the sweetest guy, and, you know, a brilliant talent, beyond genius.
Well, I want to read a couple of quotes on the back of this book. One of the most life-affirming reads ever, Howard Storm is an American master, Richard Lewis. I've known Howard Storm for almost 40 years. I know him a lot better now, from the Lower East Village to the Borscht Belt, from his comedy clubs of the Village to the sound stages of Hollywood. This hilarious and touching book is like having an intimate conversation with a funny, charming man who has been almost everything and everyone in front of and behind the cameras, Billy Crystal. The only problem with this book is it ends. Dick Cavett. The Imperfect Storm is a perfect read. Bob Newhart. I may be in the minority, but I liked it. Mel Brooks. Those are great testimonials, Howard, and great testimonials to you as well. So let's talk a little bit about your boxing career. And
he still has all his teeth, all of his teeth still.
Well, you know, I said to Billy. Billy said to me, "How would you describe Howard Storm?" I said, "I describe him as sort of like a Jimmy Cagney character." And Billy said, "I got it. I know exactly who he is." So aside from, I'm not talking about Howard not boxing, even though he could carry his own with anybody. He was managing a couple of fighters, one of whom was Tony the Tiger Baltazar, who fought for the middleweight championship of the world, didn't he?
He was a lightweight.
Lightweight. Yep. What was that like? And how did you get into that? Did your brother Eddie get you into that?
Actually, we both did. We decided we wanted to manage some fighters because we were so involved. We were always at the fights, sitting ringside. And Mondo Muniz came up and said, my cousin Oscar doesn't have management. Are you guys interested? And we said yes, because we had seen Oscar fight 2 or 3 times at the Olympic. So we bought his contract and we started managing him. And then we wound up with the Baltazar brothers, and it became a whole thing. We were into boxing, you know, through that.
And then he beat he beat, well, I want to say Jeff Chandler in a
Oh yeah.
non-title fight. So he fought then he fought Chandler again for the title, but he didn't win.
No, he got. He always cut. He had bad
Skin?
scar tissue above his eyes, and he would always. And Oscar would always cut, and they had to stop the fight in the 6th round because of cuts.
Is that as close as you got to a championship?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a lot closer than a lot of people
A lot
get.
closer than most.
But one guy you got, and I don't know his name, but Jay and I were together one weekend, and Howard said, "Why don't you come down to the Olympic? I got a guy fighting. I want you to see him fighting." And then Howard said, "Can you get him some shoes?" So I got him a pair of Pony boxing shoes, and Jay and I get to the fight, and we're looking around for Howard, and Howard doesn't come out, and then come out again, and we'll wait a little bit longer, and Howard doesn't come out. So then we finally see Howard, and I said, "Howard, where's your fighter?" He said, "Oh, he was knocked out in the first round." we got to the fight too late.
You should have got it earlier.
And then what I said to you, Howard, I said we should have put the chevron on the bottom of his heel, on the bottom of his soles, the soles of his feet instead of the side, because that's the only way you would see him.
That's remarkable. So you were asked to handle. You bought the contract. You handle these fighters, but you fought yourself. What weight did you fight at?
Oh no, I never really.
No,
fought.
he was a street fighter. He was a street fighter.
Yeah.
I remember when Marty said when they were kids, Howard was in the middle of all of his fights because Marty was a polio victim, and Marty had a bum arm, and Howard would always fight the street guys, the guineas, the guineas and the Jews, and they would always
just beat the hell out of each other.
And Howard was the main fighter.
Well, Frank warned me not to get too cute. He says you can still hit. That's what he told me. He said, "Watch out for it. You can still hit. He's got a good left."
Yeah.
Freddie Roach,
Yeah.
who trained Pacquiao,
Right.
said I have a good left hand.
Yep. Howard, you've been a great guest. I can't thank you enough for being on this.
Thank you.
We're all honored to have you here. You've had a great life, but a brilliant career, but more importantly, a great life. You've been a great friend to me, to Jay, to Karen, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you. And in terms of friendship, I have great regard for our friendship. I'm sure you know that.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. An absolute honor to meet you, sir. It really was. Could you hold up his book one more time?
I will
Frank?
hold up the book.
I really recommend anybody out there, if you want to get a really good read and a good, true, real, raw read, read The Imperfect Storm. You'll love it. I did. I really did.
As did I. Good to talk to you, Howard. I had lunch with Howard and Steve Wallenberg 2 days before we went into pandemic lockdown.
Oh,
so
That's right, yeah.
So
And I want to mention Steve Stoliar, who wrote the book with me.
Right.
My partner, who was extremely talented writer.
Great. Thank you, Howard. Be well, and I hope to see you soon.
Same here.
Great.
Love to Frankie.
You betcha.
all
Thanks.
right. That's great. That's
Thanks.
great. Thank you again.
Well, Howard's a terrific guest, wasn't he?
He certainly is. I wonder, Frank, when you had lunch with him before the pandemic hit, did you have the roast beef, or the corned beef, or did you have the pastrami?
I think I had the salami. I had the salami and eggs.
Yeah, he's just a remarkable character. 88 years old.
He is 88.
And still, able to shoot those stories off. And, you cued him on a few stories, but I'm sure he's got thousands, just thousands.
He does have thousands. In his time, as I said before, or as I should have said before, he was the greatest storyteller I've ever known. He could sit and trail you with a story about all sorts of things that I'm interested in, of course.
Of course, entertainment, yeah.
That's he's brilliant. He's a good friend, and his son's an executive producer of Ninja Warriors. So his son Anthony is executive producer, and his other son Casey is a talented director.
So alligators raise alligators.
Alligators. Well, alligators raise alligators for sure. That's for sure. So what else you want to talk about?
I don't know, Frank. I'm happy as a clam at the moment. I was thrilled to meet this guy actually, and I don't know where you want to go. He drinks Jack Daniels. I remember that. He said he likes Jack Daniels on the rocks. That's his drink.
Well, that's Sinatra's drink too.
Yeah, Sinatra's drink. There was a great line in Pacino, in Scent of a Woman, and he walks into a bar and he says, "Let me have a John Daniels." And the bartender says, "You mean Jack Daniels?" He goes, "Son, when you've known him as long as I do, I call him John."
Yeah.
I love that line.
So I'm going to go another place where I don't think I have an answer to. Who do you think is our Fredo this week?
A Fredo of the week? We haven't done Fredo in a while. Do we have a family to pick from, or we're just going to throw a Fredo out there?
I think
we got to go with Matt Getz. I think he definitely gets a Fredo award.
Well, he gets a Fredo award, but who's in his family? It's not a matter of who. Let's talk about the Cuomo family.
He wins.
Yeah, he wins.
I don't care who's in his family.
Let's talk about the Cuomo family.
Oh yeah, they got a couple of buttes in that family.
So let's call Mario the Godfather. So,
yeah, Mario would be the Godfather.
Yeah. So who would be Sonny and who would be Fredo?
Well, actually, the old man now is dead, but the old man would have been the Godfather.
Well, that's Mario.
Yeah, the old man, Mario. Yeah.
He's the Godfather. But
yeah.
Who would be the Fredo?
Oh, jeez, I don't know.
The governor or the CNN guy?
Well, the CNN guy is just riding the coattails, right? Don't you think?
It's got to be the CNN guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just sort of riding the coattails. He's got no inherent talent that I can see of,
Yeah, but, maybe he'd be better served having no talent than a little bit of talent like his brother, the governor, who's been hiding deaths.
Well, what are politicians?
Who is allegedly been hiring deaths because he was pitching a book about his deft handling of the COVID experience.
Well, aren't they all entertainers? What are politicians if not entertainers? Because they're certainly not deep thinkers. We can say that with certainty.
I think somebody said politics is show business for ugly people.
That's great. Politics is show business
for ugly people.
I always remember the line that politics is the last refuge of a scoundrel. And that's dead on. Dead on.
And they are coming out of the woodwork left and right.
By God, yeah, both sides of the aisles. It's just one after the other. You know what? When you aspire to be a politician, and of course the classic line is, why do you want to be governor? I want to make a difference.
Yeah, sure.
The I want to make a difference line. Until you get in there, and then you start saying, how much money can I raise and how much money can I swindle?
Yeah, I was having breakfast yesterday with an old friend who is a very, very big lawyer, a mergers and acquisitions guy. And we were talking about politics today. And we both agreed that there have to be term limits.
Oh, yeah.
There have to be term limits. And then I floated your idea about a 25-year term limit on Supreme Court justices, just to see how he would be. And he said, I'm all for it. These people were appointed for life back at a time when the lifespan was 60.
Yeah.
So now that the lifespan is 80.
Exactly right.
So,
and you're giving them a license to steal. And how long do you give them that license to steal?
Well, congressmen for sure. I mean, I want to say less. I'm hopeful that the Supreme Court justices have less larceny in their veins than Matt Gaetz or Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi or some of them that have been sitting on their seats forever. But
I recall a story, and I wish to hell that I can remember who was the mayor when the Staten Island Bridge was built. But whoever it was had bought up all the land on the other side of the Staten Island Bridge. And I mean, if that doesn't show you,
yep,
you got the insider knowledge. I mean, it's impossible not to make money as a politician. And it's not an accident that senators make 40% more money in the stock market than the average senator.
Of course not.
Because, I mean, they know. They get the insider information. I mean, imagine if you knew where the Staten Island Bridge was going to be built. I mean, that's Information is power.
I mean, if you think about term limits, and even if it's 4 years or 6 years, you get in and you get out, and you don't have to raise any money because now they spend 3/4 of their time raising money.
Whatever.
Because when you see those Senate hearings and there are like 12 people there,
C-SPAN.
C-SPAN. There are like 12 people.
It looks like COVID before COVID.
Exactly.
There's 12 people and it's
Exactly.
scattered. The only time you see it full is when they have a celebrity, like a baseball player being investigated. So then the place is packed.
Yeah, and then the Republicans vote. Roger Clemens wasn't doing steroids, and the Democrats vote he was.
I got to give you a great story, and true as God, because again, you can't make this stuff up. When I was at the University of Florida, this is like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I had a political science teacher, and I like political science because I'm a political science junkie. I was always a wonk, you know? And of course, I'm sitting in a classroom with a bunch of 20-year-old kids who are not really interested. But I'm amazed at this professor, right? Because the guy speaks 3 languages. Now, that's not remarkable in itself. But the 3 languages that he speaks, of course, English is one. He speaks fluent Russian and fluent Chinese. And I'm saying,
what foresight?
Yeah, but that's remarkable. I mean, because you couldn't get 3 more different. And his father was in the Navy, and he ran the nuclear facility on an aircraft carrier, right? So a brilliant guy. So he says to us, first day of class, he said, I have to apologize up front, but every 2 weeks on Monday, there'll be no class because I have to go to the Beltway because I'm an expert in Ukrainian affairs. And he says, I have to meet with these congressmen in Washington and brief them on Ukrainian affairs. So I'm a wonk, and I'm older than he is. I'm 20 years older than he is. So after class, when he comes back from one of these jaunts to Washington, I grab him aside and I say, tell me something, Professor, how'd it go in Washington? He said, oh, pretty much usual. I went up and briefed them for 40 minutes on Ukrainian affairs. And I said, and how was the response? He goes, pretty much as usual. He goes, 4 congressmen come up and asked me if I knew Tim Tebow. That was it.
Well, when you were in Vietnam, you were expert in Vietnamese affairs.
Well, I certainly tried, Frank. I got to know the people.
That's pretty funny.
At $4 a piece, but I got to know the people.
$4 a piece. Really? Is that what you paid?
Yeah, and I don't really think that's not really buying sex, Frank. That's a scholarship. I mean, God help me. I was a recovering Catholic, Frank. I had to explore.
That's pretty funny. Well, I think we've done enough damage for
I think we've done enough damages, right?
So remember our website, amicamookanamike.com. You can buy our books there, our book, but soon to be books.
And we're blogging now. We're blogging.
amicamookanamike.com. If Thieves' Lips Could Talk on the website. You can buy autographed copies. I think someday we may have this mug available.
You don't mind if I sign my name in crayon, do you, Frank? I'm more comfortable with a crayon for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know what Derek's doing, but he's trying to... Oh, there it is.
There it is. There's our website.
The
Look at
website.
that. He brought it up. And look at the names: Susan Egan, Matthew Lawrence, Pepe Castro, Lawrence Sesselman.
Well, we got a
diverse show. Frank.
We got a diverse show coming up. We got featured podcasts. We got a lot of stuff.
Geez, I look back at some of them podcasts, and God, some of them were really, really great interviews. And I mean, from Pulitzer Prize winners to actors to directors to producers.
And we got a lot more great stuff coming up. So say goodnight, Billy.
Say goodnight, Billy. Good night, Billy. Good night, Frank. Good night,
Derek. Good night, Derek. Be well, everybody. See you next week.
Next week's guest, actor James LeSure.
We'll see you next week.